A soft hum filled the cabin of Flight 782 as it moved through the night sky at 37,000 feet. Most passengers slept peacefully, unaware that fate was about to shake their world. In row 13, a young woman named Clara slept against the window, exhausted from a long week. She had no idea the next hour would turn her into the center of a story the world would never forget. 40 minutes into the flight, the calm was shattered by a sudden violent jolt. Overhead bins rattled. The plane dipped hard, then steadied only to dip again. Passengers gasped awake. Clara's eyes snapped open as her heart jumped in her chest. The lights flickered faintly and a tense silence fell across the cabin. The intercom crackled. The captain's voice came through strained and trembling instead of calm and confident. "Ladies and gentlemen, if anyone on board has flight experience or is a licensed pilot, please make yourself known to the crew immediately. We need assistance." A wave of shock froze the passengers. People looked around in confusion. Some whispered in disbelief. A second announcement followed, sounding even more urgent. "If anyone knows how to fly, please tell the crew now." Clara felt her pulse race. She wasn't a pilot, not officially, but she had spent years learning to fly small aircraft with her uncle, a retired Air Force captain. She knew the basics. She knew controls. She knew how a cockpit worked. But this was a commercial jet, a world of difference. Fear held her still for a moment. The plane dropped again, sharper this time. Someone screamed. A child began to cry. Clara forced herself to breathe and unbuckled her seat belt. She stood. A flight attendant hurried toward her, hope flickering in her eyes. "Do you have flying experience?" Clara nodded slowly. "I've flown small planes, not jets. But I know the basics." The attendant grabbed her hand. "Come with me. The captain needs help." Every passenger watched as Clara walked up the aisle. Some whispered prayers. Some stared with fear. Some with hope. When the cockpit door opened, she saw the captain unconscious, slumped over the controls. The co-pilot was awake but barely conscious, his vision fading. "We think it's a medical emergency," the attendant said. Both pilots down. Clara stepped into the cockpit, feeling the weight of 200 lives on her shoulders. The co-pilot looked at her weakly. "Can you help?" "I'll try." She slid into the captain's seat. Warning lights blinked everywhere. The plane drifted slightly off course. Turbulence continued, shaking them through the storm outside. She reached for the radio, her hand trembling. "Mayday, mayday, mayday, this is Navy 782 Heavy. Captain and co-pilot incapacitated. Passenger with small aircraft experience attempting control. I need guidance." Denver Center responded immediately, calm and steady. "Clara, we hear you. We will guide you. First stabilize the aircraft." She checked the altitude, corrected it, and held the yoke tightly. Her arms shook, but she forced herself to remember her uncle's lessons. "A calm mind flies the plane. Fear crashes it." The controller instructed her step by step. "Switch the transponder. Adjust altitude. Maintain heading. Trust the instruments." The storm worsened. Lightning flashed across the sky. The aircraft bounced violently. Alarms beeped. The cabin behind her erupted in cries, but she kept her eyes locked on the instruments. "Clara, you're doing well," the controller said. "We're clearing airspace for you. You will not be alone for 1 second." A flight attendant peeked into the cockpit. "Everyone is terrified, but they're praying for you." Clara nodded without looking back. "Tell them I'll do everything I can." Minutes passed like hours. She followed every instruction, trying to steady her breathing. The storm fought against her every move, but she refused to give up. When the clouds finally thinned, runway lights came into distant view. Denver Center spoke again. Clara, you're aligned. Begin final descent. Her heart pounded. I've never landed a jet, she whispered. You can do this. We'll guide you down. The runway grew closer. She reduced throttle, adjusted flaps, leveled the nose. Every second felt like a lifetime. 700 feet. 400. 200. Ease the yoke gently. The wheels hit the runway, bouncing once, twice, then finally settling. Reverse thrust roared. The plane slowed more, and then stopped completely. The cockpit fell silent. For a long moment Clara just sat frozen, trembling hands still gripping the controls. Then the cabin behind her burst into cheers and sobs of relief. Paramedics rushed in. The co-pilot was taken out on a stretcher. Clara was helped down the stairs where emergency crews and flashing lights covered the runway. News cameras recorded her silent shock and tears as she stepped onto the ground. The air traffic controller who guided her arrived moments later. He approached her quietly. You saved them, he said. Every single one of them. She shook her head. You helped me save them. But the world didn't see it that way. By the next morning, headlines everywhere called her the woman in row 13 who saved Flight 782. Survivors called her a hero. Families cried with gratitude. Experts studied the recording in disbelief. Clara always said the same thing. I didn't feel brave. I just knew I had to try. And yet history remembered her as the ordinary woman who rose to an extraordinary moment. The passenger who woke up in row 13 and landed a jet when no one else could.